So in this training program, we are planning to learn about the Python full stack course. Now, what is this Python full stack course? What do you mean by full stack course? Can anyone tell me? Do anyone has any idea about what is a full stack program or what is full stack development? Any idea? Rohit, do you have any idea about what is a full stack development?
Sir, I think it's a web development
Okay, okay.
from end to end, front end, back end, data processing.
Yes, correct.
Like
100% correct. Okay. So, so web development is also a correct term, but web development may be anything. It may be front end, it may be back end. But before, sorry.
no, nothing.
Okay. When you are not speaking, you can mute yourself. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, in this course, what we'll be learning about is a full stack course. We will learn a full stack course where we will be learning the front end development as well as the back end development. Now, what are these things actually? Whenever we want to use or whenever we want to do some development, nowadays, what is happening? Everything is web-based development. It is, we are not coming to something like desktop application development or mobile app development. We are not doing that. We are doing something called web-based development or web development. Now, in this web development, a lot of things are there. What is web development? Actually, web development is nothing but the, the application development, the applications which we see in our browsers. Okay. So those applications, which we run in our browsers, you can say that they are web application. But it is not only like whatever we see that is the application. No, whatever we are seeing that is only a small part of the whole application. Because in the backside, many things are happening. Whatever we are seeing, that is known as the UI or the front end. The front end is nothing but what the user sees or the customer or the consumer sees. Whatever he or she is able to see is known as the front end. But that is only a small part of the whole web application. Now, let us take an example of a web application. So I gave you some idea about what is web application, right? Can you give me an example in real time? What kind of web application we are using daily? Anyone? Can anyone tell me any application which I can say it is a web application? I don't want to talk about mobile app or a desktop app, but a web application which we use in browser. Can anyone tell me? Okay. We know what is a Facebook, what is Instagram. Instagram we are using in a mobile. That is fine. But in the browser also we can open Instagram. Is it or not? Can we open Instagram in browser? Hello? Yes or no? Please try to
Yes,
be
sir.
responsive. Yeah. We can open Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, all these things in the browser also. So these can also be uh, considered as web development. Sorry, web app. Okay. Now what is happening? The screen that we are seeing, that is just a part, as I told you, that node at the front end. But when I click on a button, some data, it will show it is loading, and then some data will load and it will show us. So all that activity is not happening in the front end. It is happening in somewhere else that we consider as the backend. Now, backend consists of lot many things. So in this today's session, we'll try to understand what is this front end, back end, and what kind of technologies are used to do this front end and back end. And finally, we will come to the discussion where we will discuss about what I will be going to teach you in this whole course, in this whole training program. Okay. So first, let us not go to what I will teach, but before that, we should understand what is this front end, what is this back end, how they're working, and how we can write code for all these things. And then we will learn what we are going to do. because we can't learn everything, right? For front end, there people are having a lot of technologies. Maybe more than 20 technologies are there, but we'll not learn everything, right? We'll learn one path. We'll learn one way to do the front end development. We'll learn one way to do the back end development, and then we will join them together, or we segregate them together to create a complete web application, right? This is what we will be doing. Okay. So first, let us see. Now, what is this front end? Now, let us forget about web application, we forget about web development, forget about back end. We'll just think about what is a front end development and what is a front end application or a front end, whatever it is. What is this front end actually? Okay. So, as I told you in the beginning, that whatever we see in our browser, so whatever websites or web applications and all those things, that is known as the front end of any application. Now this front end or UI, it is also known as UI. What is UI? User interface. Okay. A screen that we see on any website or anything, that is known as the front end. Now this front end can created in a very basic way using HTML. Okay. We have HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Three languages are there. Okay. Now using these three things, we can create a complete front-end application. Now what are the things we can do using these three things? We can create a website. What is a website? I've been using some different words. Like I'm now currently, I suddenly use the word website. But till now, I was using a word called web application. These two are totally different things. Okay, so let us see. Let us go to anyone saying anything in chat? Okay, fine. So let us go to Google and try to open something like we can open Wikipedia. Just go to Wikipedia and search for India. Okay, now this is a screen. One second. Now in the screen, we are able to see something. It is having some content here. It is a page which is having some content here. Some text is there, some images are there, Indian flag is there. So many things are there, right? On the left hand side, something is there, right hand side, something is there, and all those things. Now, this is a web page. This is a web page. So to create this page, I can use HTML, CSS, and if needed, JavaScript. I'll come to JavaScript later on. Let us think that we will use only HTML and CSS to create a website or web application, whatever. I'm talking about front end now. To create some front end page, we will need HTML and CSS. Okay, we need JavaScript also, but I'll come to that later. Now, what this HTML and CSS is doing, it is creating this using this HTML and CSS. Will write code to create this button, this logo, this text, this content here. Okay, even this images will be created using the HTML. Now, what is this CSS doing? CSS is using CSS, we are able to apply styles like why this is blue color, why this is a bold, why this thing, let's say why this thing is coming to the left, why this is in the middle, why this is on to the right. All these things will be done by CSS. Now, in simple words, if I want to tell you, HTML helps us to create a structure of the page. Okay, HTML helps us to create a structure of the page. And I don't actually, I am supposed to show you some code as well, but today I don't want to show you in much detail. Okay, what I want to tell you is our main agenda for today is what is this web development and what are we going to learn. Okay, normally sometimes I will show some code as well in the demo, but today I don't want to show. I just want you to understand what is this thing. Okay. No, HTML in simple terms, what I told you is HTML will help us to create the structure or the skeleton of the page. It will not give any styles or anything. Okay, it will help us to create a structure of the page. How the page should look like. What should be at the top? What should be at the bottom? What should be what should be the heading, and all those things will be done by HTML. But when CSS comes into the picture, it will help us to add some styles, colors, sizing, big size, small size, all those things. To the something to the left, something to the right. These gaps, we are having a lot of gaps here and there. These gaps and all those things. These things will be done by CSS. Okay. Now there is a third thing called the JavaScript. So what is JavaScript doing? JavaScript is helping us to add some interactivity to our websites. What is interactivity? Users will click on something. Now let's say I'm clicking on a button here. We have a play button here. If I play this, something will start playing, right? These are user interactions. I'm interacting with my website or web page. I'm not going to website, sorry. I'll come to website later on. I'm interacting with my web page using JavaScript. When I click on it, this click, upon clicking, something is happening. Who will do that? HTML and CSS cannot do that. Who will be doing that? That will be done by JavaScript. Okay, fine. Next, let us now. I hope we know what is a web page. A web page is something like a web page contains. It is a front end. What it is called, using front-end technologies, we will create a web page, and this web page will have some content, some logos, some images, and we may also have interactivity in it, which we can achieve by using JavaScript. Now what happens is I want to know what is a website. Now see this page, when I click on one of the links, so there are so many links. How do I know these are links? When I put my mouse over it, it is getting an underline. We are getting an underline, and these underlines tell us that it is a link. When I click on the South Asia, let us click on the South Asia, it is going to some other page, right? But our website, whatever it is, en.wikipedia.org, that is same. See, when I'm going back, when I'm coming to this India page, it is still en.wikipedia.org. But after that, some things are changing. Wiki India is coming here. When I go to South Asia, Wiki South Asia is coming. But our main page is same. So these kind of things are known as a website. So what is happening actually when I go to this page? This is a web page. India, this whole page is a web page, and this South Asia is also a web page. But they are connected to each other using these links. Using these links, they are connected to each other. Now when I click on this Asia, it will go to another web page called Asia. But they are all connected to each other. So this grouping of one or more than one web pages together, when they are connected together using these anchor tags, these are known as anchor tags. We'll come to that, but for now I will say these as links. Using these links, when we connect so many web pages together, the whole thing is known as a website. So I can say that Wikipedia is a website which has so many thousands of pages, thousands of web pages. When I click on another page, let's say Europe. When I click on Europe, this is another web page being loaded in this website. Wikipedia website has so many web pages like Asia, India, Europe, South Asia. We can go to Ural Mountains. These are all single web pages. Collectively bind it together in a website called Wikipedia. Okay. So these kind of things can be achieved using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This is a web page. But there is another term that I used that is known as the web application or web app. Okay. So what is a web app? Let's say, as I told you, web application may be anything. It may be front end, back end, or a full stack. So let us talk about a front end web application. So what is a front end web application? If we go to this page, this website where I'm coming, it is just having something like when I click on it, it is going to that page. When I click on this page, it is going to that page. This way, it is going from page to page and nothing else it is doing. But if you go to pages like Facebook or Instagram, a lot of things are happening. We are able to send a message to people using Facebook or Instagram. In Flipkart, I can go and place an order for an item. That is not just links like this. In this website, I am doing only links. I'm going from link to link. Nothing else I'm able to do. In this Wikipedia, am I able to do anything else? I'm just going from page to page like this, and I'm reading only for reading purpose. When I click on text, small text size is becoming small, large, and all these things. I cannot talk with people, or I cannot place an order here. Okay. So that's why these are known as websites. But when I go to Flipkart, Amazon, then WhatsApp, then Facebook, Instagram, here, apart from going from link to link or page to page, we are able to do a lot of other things. We are able to send a friend request. We are able to send a follow request. We are even able to download some images, right? We are able to chat with people. So there are a lot of features are there, not only just a basic interactivity. Lot of features are there, lot of inside Facebook also they are having some games. Facebook games are there. Nowadays in Netflix, we are able to play games. Have you seen? If you go to Netflix, apart from watching movies and all, we are also having some games, some shooting games, some car racing games, small games. So that kind of things are also possible in where? In a web application. That is the difference between a web site and a web application. No doubt, web application is also a collection of many web pages. But apart from having only web pages, we are having a lot of extra features in web applications. We are able to do a lot of extra things there. Okay. So that is the difference between web page and web application. But both are coming under this front-end development. Okay, whether it is a web app, whether it is a website. Now, if these two things are different, how do we create them? Will we use those same HTML, CSS, JavaScript for everything? Actually, we can do that, but it becomes very tough when it comes to web app, front-end web app. Okay, I'm not talking about back. When it is a front-end web application, if we use only HTML, CSS, JavaScript, it becomes a little bit tough. But whereas when we come to this website, to create this Wikipedia, it is not tough to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. With these three things, we can do everything for a website. We just need to create many pages and we have to link them using these links, whatever we see, all these underlined links. Okay, if we connect them, it will become a website. And that is actually very easy. But when we want to have a chat, so nowadays what is happening? Not only chatting with other people, but also they are having some AI chat bots are there. So many things are there nowadays to create, to send some what it is called, to send a request to someone and all those things. We cannot do using basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Apart from that, lot of other things are there. But yes, of course, we can do it with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but we have to write big lines of code, very thousands of lakhs of lines of code we have to write. So because of that, what people have done is people have come up with new technologies which will help us to create web applications in an easier manner. Okay. So what people have done, they have 100% we need HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So on top of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, they have created some libraries and frameworks. We'll come to what are libraries and frameworks. I will come to that later on when we learn all these things. But I just want to tell you that they are technologies. They are new technologies. They are built using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, they are making some new technologies which will help us to create web applications in an easier manner. We don't need to write the lakhs of crores of lines of code. Using some commands, we will tell our application to create this, create that, create a chatbot, create a messenger, and all those things. Of course, we will write hundreds of lines of code, but not lakhs or crores of lines of code. Okay. Now for that, what do we need? We 100% we need the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but apart from that, what? Because as I told you, people have created new technologies. using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So what are those new technologies? So for doing this front end or UI development, there are new technologies like Angular, ReactJS, Vue.js, AureliaJS, EmberJS. Like that, so many technologies are there. But only some are having more popularity, some are having less popularity. But yes, all of them can be used to create. It is not like something is good or something is bad. Every technology has its own plus point, but people use them according to their preference. What is needed, what is not needed, like it. Okay. Now these technologies are nothing but front end technologies which we use to create these web applications. For creating a website, we don't need that kind of technologies. For creating a website like Wikipedia, I can go with basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's it. And if you want some more styling, proper styling, we can go with some libraries like Bootstrap and all those things for styling purpose. But that much is enough to create a website. But nowadays, the demand is increasing day by day. People are not impressed with this website. This website is having no functionality. It is just going from page to page. So what people are saying, that people are saying, no, we want more features. We want this, we want that, we want chatbot, we want login, we want payment gateway. I want to sell products on my website. So what happened is, people now, when they started demanding all these things, the development became tough, because of which now we are forced or we are bound to use the front end technologies, or these technologies like Angular, React.js, Vue.js, and all those technologies. Okay. These will primarily help us to create the web applications. Okay, fine. And nowadays, they are very smart. Even using these technologies, people are able to create mobile apps as well. Okay. React.js is having its React Native. There is a technology called React Native, which will help us to create mobile apps and many other things. But we are not now focused on mobile application development. We are now focused on the front end development or the web development, that we will run in our browsers. We will not run our code in our desktop. We will not create desktop applications. For desktop applications, we have different technologies like Electron.js. Even Angular supports desktop application creation, but we will not go into those things. We will only focus on the browser based applications, what we can run in browser, which we will have a URL something.com, and then people can use it, other people can see, other people can use the web application. Okay, so this is all about the front end development. Okay, fine. Now where does that back end development come into the picture? Now, when I'm using a web application, let's say Amazon or Flipkart or whatever it is, or let's say, let us take a very basic example of this Instagram. I sent a follow request to someone. Now, how that other person will come to know that someone has sent me a follow request? So what will happen is, there is a backend application who is doing all these things. When we click on that follow button, what it is doing, that who will help us? JavaScript will help us. As I told you in the beginning, when I click on something, something is happening. That means that thing is an interaction, and that will be done by JavaScript. So JavaScript will just tell that I have clicked the follow button. But after that, what is to be done? JavaScript doesn't have full control over it. Okay. So what is needs to be done is, this follow button, when I click on it, it should send some signal, some message, some information to the backend server. That server, what it will do? It will tell that person, let's say I sent a follow request to person named ABC. That ABC person should be notified, right? He or she should know that yes, a person named someone has sent me a follow request. So that thing will be done by the backend application. Now that backend application can be written in different ways. Now, before going into how we will create a backend application, just like we understood how the front end application worked, let us now try to understand what this backend application can do. Is it capable only to notify the follow request? No, it can do a lot of things. Now, let us take the example of Flipkart. In the Flipkart, what I'm doing, I'm logging in, and the first step, login. What is it doing? When I put my username and password, or maybe the email and password, if I put a wrong password, what will happen? Will it work? No, it will never work. It will say that the credentials are wrong, incorrect, invalid username or password. Something it will say. Who is doing that? That is not done by the front end. Front end is just sending the data, the login. So let us see a login page. Okay, I'll just I'll see an image here. Let us see this. Okay, see this. It is a basic login page. Okay, not like this. I just want to see the image. Okay, we can see it like this. So here, when I do this thing, this will be part of my website or web application, whatever it is. I put my email address and password and I click on login. So what my front-end application can do, it can only pick up the email address and password from these fields, and it can send it. Nothing else it can do. It cannot check whether it is a correct one or not, whether it is a new user, whether it is a already registered user. Front-end cannot do all those things. Those things must be done by the backend application. So backend application can do this thing. First, what we saw, backend application can send that follow request notification to the other person. And what more we have seen here, it can check this. It will take this email and password and it will check whether it is correct or not. If it is correct, then it will check that user so there are two possibilities. See, whether if I put an email address and password just like that, what will happen? It will check in the backend that the backend application will check that, oh, is this user available? No, this user doesn't exist. Then what it will say? It will say, if you are a new user, then please sign up. Don't try to log in. Please sign up. First, register yourself. After registering only, I can log in. So these things will be told by the backend side. Okay, this is also one of the thing. Another thing I'll tell you, when I go to Flipkart and I click on add to cart, suppose let us see a page like this. So there is a product where I click on let us see this. See this here we have a something like strawberry lemonade, and what it is having, it is having this some count is there, +1, we can increase +2, +3, and then we'll click on add to cart. Now when I click on this add to cart, what will happen? JavaScript will just tell the application that yes, click has happened, but it cannot send this to some server. Who will it can send it to the server, but who will update the cart? Because if I add to cart today and after I log in after 3 days, still the data will be there in my cart. How? That is done by the backend application. So this is also one of the things the backend application can do. What it will do, it will take this product and it will store it in the backend, and we can access it whenever we want. This is one of the another thing. Okay, fine. This way, this backend application will do things which the front end cannot do. Okay, front end can only handle interactions, but after that, storing the data somewhere, checking the data is correct or not, these kind of things, and sending notification to the another person yeah, for the follow request. Okay, deleting something, all those things will be done by the backend application. Now, what this backend application is made up of? Front-end application, we have seen that front-end application, what it is doing, it is showing us the pages, it is showing some features, and we are creating using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. If it is a website, and if it is a web application, we are going with technologies like Angular, React, Vue, and all those things. But what about this backend application? This backend application can be created with so many languages. It can be created using JavaScript. It can be created using Python. It can be created using Java, and so on. Okay, everyone has created their own way to create this, to develop this backend applications. Okay, now These backend applications, I told you just the languages, but these languages have a technology. As I told you, front end we are having HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but we will not use these things. We will directly use Angular, React, these kind of technologies. First, we need to learn what is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That we will learn initially. But after that, we will jump to Angular or React, okay, to create the web application front end. In the same way, backend is having for backend we are having technologies like languages like what is this? Python is there, JavaScript is there, Java is there. But what kind of technology we'll be using? So for each language, we are having different technologies to create this web backend web application. So if we go with JavaScript, we have something called a NodeJS, ExpressJS. Using these technologies, we can create backend application. In the same way, if we use Java, we'll be using something called Spring or Spring Boot to create the backend application. In the same way, if we use Python, for Python, we have Flask or Django, these kind of technologies to create the backend application, right? Okay. This is all about front end and backend. But this much is actually not enough to create a complete web application. Whenever you ask someone what is a full stack web, what is this full stack development, everyone will say that there is a front end and back end. So it is not only front end and back end. We also need something called database. Okay. Now this backend application, it is just an application. It is just some lines of code. It doesn't have any memory. When we are doing this add to cart, it has to store these cart items somewhere, so that after 7 days when I log in, still I can see the add to cart, that whatever items were added to my cart. Okay. So for that, we need something called a database. Again, database are of different types. Okay. So database is nothing but it is a memory. In database, I don't need to explain too much. In front end, I explain so many things. What is the capability of front end? What is the capability of back end? But in database, there is not much to say about. What is it? It is a storage where we will store the data, but it will not help us to do anything much more than that. Whenever we want to take some data from there, we will use the backend application. From the backend application, we will pick up some data from there and we will give to the front end, and we can see. Okay. Now, what happens is without all these things also we can run the database. We have some database servers where we can run them locally in our system, and we can run some queries. You must have heard about something called SQL, MySQL. So in these things, what is happening? We run a SQL server in our system, and we have the database there. We can store the data. We can fetch the data using some queries. But that much is not enough. Only the database. So what we do is we connect everything together, front end, back end, along with the database. Database is connected to back end is connected to front end. Front end will not be directly connected to the database. Front end will talk or interact with the database using the back end. This backend application can be different using different technologies. As I told you, it can be Django, it can be Node.js, it can be Spring Boot or anything. Using different languages, we have different ways. But everything, all the technologies are doing actually the same thing. Okay, it is just about programming language. What programming language we are comfortable with, using that we will do the backend. Okay. Now again, database. So I told you what is this database. Now database can be of different things. Like as I told you, there are actually primarily two types of databases. One is known as there's a relational database where we use these SQL, MySQL, and then we have PostgreSQL, like that. So many SQL things are there, databases are there. Now, what these things, why they are these relational database? They store the data in the form of a table. Okay, we know Excel sheets, Microsoft Excel. In Microsoft Excel, how there are rows and columns. In the same way, data will be stored in this relational database. Now there are another type of database that is known as NoSQL, which will not store data in this uh, table format. They will store data in different formats. Some people were there who created some database which were storing data in the form of trees. Some kind of tree were there. Nowadays, some databases are there which are storing in the form of something called JavaScript object. We'll learn about it later on. It is known as JSON structure. So those things are also coming under NoSQL database. So example of that kind of database are MongoDB. There is a database called MongoDB. Then we have different DynamoDB. Then we have Firestore. Like that, so many are there. Okay. But we need to choose any one of them and start working. It is not like something is good or bad. In all the things I have told, so many technologies, right? Front end can be done with so many technologies. Back end can be done with so many technologies. Database also we can select any one of them. So in all these things, we select any one of them and we start working. Learning is the first thing. First you learn any one of them, then you will be comfortable with any other technology. Because once you learn the basics, what will happen? You can switch to another technology. So if you go to another technology, if you try to learn another technology, it won't take much time if you have proper command over the basics of any technology. Okay, this is what a complete web application looks like, front end, back end, along with the database. Okay, now let us try to discuss what we will be doing, because we can't learn all these things. I told you so many things. See, I have talked almost more than 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, we have talked about so many technologies. We cannot learn everything all at once. What we'll do, we will select one of all these things and we will start creating the web application. Okay, so let us start from the beginning. What technologies we will use for each of them in this whole training program. So for the front end, as I told you, we have to go with some technology, but before that we must know this HTML, CSS and JavaScript properly. If we don't know this HTML, CSS and JavaScript properly, we cannot work on Angular, React or any other technology. Okay, first we must know this. So first we will start with HTML, then we'll go to CSS. What does HTML do? It will create a structure. CSS will do the styling, and JavaScript will add some interactivity like hover, like clicking, and many other things. Okay, submitting a form, and all those things will be done. First, we learn these three things properly. Then we will go on to a front end technology. Now, what front end technology we'll be using? As I told you, we have Angular, React, and all those things. But for this training program, I have selected this ReactJS. Okay, we'll learn ReactJS. What is ReactJS? ReactJS is a front end library. It is known as a library. Another technology is there, as I told you, there is something called Angular. Angular is a different technology. Angular is a framework. It is a front-end framework. See, I have told that React is a front-end library, Angular is a front-end framework. Why? What is the difference between them? We learn them in detail later on, but I just want to tell you, just for the time being, that Angular, why we call it as a framework? Because it is a complete package. What do you mean by complete package? When we use Angular, it can do many things. It can create a form, it can submit a form, it can do some backend calls, okay, like this. So many things will be there inside Angular. But React cannot do everything. What we'll do with React? In React, we can install some packages to do all these things. Okay, we will use whatever I want. Let's say in my application there is no form, then I will not use the forms. Whenever I need the form, I will install it and I will use it. That's why React is little bit lightweight. React is known as a library. It is not a framework. But Angular is a complete framework. There we don't need to install anything. Without installing anything, we can start working on it directly. Okay. But why people are using React if it is not a complete package? Yes, because it makes it lightweight. If I'm not using form, then why should I have the forms in my framework, in my library, right? So this way, React is also having its own advantages. Everyone has their own advantage and disadvantage. Okay, so we'll go with this React.js. So React.js will contain all the features and all the topics we'll discuss how to create this web application. Because first we'll already learn how to create a website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? Then we will move on to React.js. There what will happen, our things will become easier. In HTML, when you are creating a website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you will see that we are writing so long code to do very small things. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes we are writing very big code. But these things will become smaller when we go to ReactJS, because it is having some techniques to do big things in smaller ways, in easier ways. Okay, this is about the front end. Once this ReactJS is done, we will do a small project where we will learn to create a front end web application. Though no backend, because till now we have not learned backend. We don't know what is backend, we don't know what is database. So without those things, we'll try to create a front end web application, UI, the UI. Okay, then we'll slowly move on to the backend. Now this course, what is this course about? This training programming is about Python full stack development. So we need to learn, we need to use the Python in the backend. Okay, there are different courses for full stack. We have pure JavaScript full stack courses where we will use JavaScript in the backend, where we'll use NodeJS, ExpressJS, and all those things. But in this course, we have to go with Python. Now, before going into the backend, first we need to learn the Python. Without learning Python, we cannot directly work on the backend application. First, we learn the Python, the core concepts, not everything. We don't need to learn advanced Python and so many these that things to do the backend application, to create the backend application. First, we learn the basics, and then we will go to a few topics which will be very useful, which are advanced topics, I understand, but those will be needed to work on the backend application. So then once we complete our core Python course, then we'll go to the backend technology. Now, what backend technology we need? As I told you, in Python, we have two backend technologies. One is known as Flask, one is known as Django. Again, these two are like Angular and React. Flask is a basic library, but this Django is a full framework. We don't need to install anything. It is a full-fledged framework. So we'll use this Django because Django is having to very much demand, and it can be used for small application as well as bigger applications. Okay, so we'll go with that Django framework. Using this Python, using our Python knowledge, we'll use our knowledge to work on that Django framework to create the backend application. From the front end, when I click on add to cart, it should do something. It should be able to do something. When I log in, our Django application should be able to do something. These things we'll do using that Django framework. And what about the database? As I told you, database is also having so many different uh, names. We are having different databases. So we'll go with this MongoDB. So MongoDB is what? It is a NoSQL database. It doesn't store data in tables. It will not store the data in tables. It will store in something called JSON format, which is more compatible with our JavaScript. Okay. So our front end is in JavaScript because we are using ReactJS. From the ReactJS, we'll be sending some data in the form of JSON. What is this JSON? We'll see later on. But just think that it is a format. We have different file formats. We have Word format. We have PDF format. Isn't it? Different Excel format. Anything can be there. But what I'm saying here is, here the data is in the form of JSON format. Now the JSON format, when I send from the front end, it will be very easier for MongoDB to handle it. That's why I have selected this MongoDB database. Okay. Otherwise, when I use SQL and all, there are some things we need to do before we cannot directly store it in the database. We have to break it down. We have to make it part, and we have to store it there. Okay. So that's why we'll be going with this MongoDB as the database. And after that, we will create a complete application with all these things. So what will be there at the front end? HTML, CSS, JavaScript in the form of ReactJS. So we'll not use this pure HTML, CSS, JavaScript at the end. Initially we'll learn, fine, but at the end, what will be there? In the front end, we'll have ReactJS. In the back end, we'll have a Django framework using Python, and the database will be MongoDB. And we'll combine all these things together to create a complete web application, full stack application. Okay, it can be anything. It can be a inventory management application. It can be a something like what it is called a lead management. We'll see at that time. We'll see what kind of application we'll do, but we will try to cover all the topics and technologies within these three technologies, so that so what my concern is, what the people are asking outside, what companies are expecting from you. So I will try to, as I'm in this industry from a long time, so I will try to cover up all the things that are being asked in interviews. Okay. So that you get a proper exposure to what is this web application as a whole. Okay. So that is my plan for this whole course. And let me know if you have any questions. Yeah. Yeah. I am done for the day, but please let me know what doubts if you are having any questions in between, like in front end, in back end, or anything. If you have anything, please ask me one by one. Anything you have? Okay then. So this is my plan, as I told you, whatever I have said. So we'll start working on it in the sequence that I told. As I told, I'll start from HTML. So this way, we'll try to cover up the whole thing. Okay, that's it. That's it for this demo. See you in the next class.